Hello, and thank you. We are here in Russia for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism. And as you mentioned, yesterday we attended the ceremony, a parade and also a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of Solzhenitsyn Kone. I think it is very symbolic. We have learned a lot during this stay. It was not just a celebration, but a commemoration of the victory of a new world. So it has a lot of meaning for us.
But what about the quality of the parade? What did you think of it?
Yes. As I said, it was perfect. Perfect, and it taught us a lot. When they parade, the vehicles that won the war, that is the T-34s, up to the modern machines, it shows us the technological evolution of the Russian army. And it also inspires us to get to work so that we can develop in the same direction.
A real soldier, Mr. Traore is focused on acquiring knowledge. He wants his country to learn from Russia.
Were there certain things that surprised you, for example?
Surprised? We are always surprised when we see technological progress. Recently, I think there is a new weapon that has appeared in the Russian military arsenal, the Burevestnik, which we were able to see go by. And I think that is very significant.
What is the significance of your presence as an African head of state? Because we know well that Africans contributed to the victory of the Allies in the Second World War.
Of course, as I said, Africans and Soviet soldiers contributed greatly to freeing the world from Nazism. And if the world had not been freed from Nazism, we don't know what would have happened. Following the events, I saw that Russia alone lost 1 million soldiers on European soil while fighting. Africa also gave. Our ancestors fought hard on the European front, mainly in France, Belgium, and Italy, to free the world from Nazism.
Well, that's one part of the history that nobody want to talk about. The implication, the work, the hard work by African and black people across the world in World War II. Many were unalive. A lot of them fought valiantly to free many countries. But today, people act like it never existed. Same for Russians. They lost about 1 million soldiers during World War II. But today, Europe is ignoring them. They're acting like America and Britain did the job.
So it's a shared history that we have.
How did the meeting with the Russian president go?
For now, we've only had brief meetings. Soon we will have a longer discussion. It's going very well. Really, it's very courteous and it's friendly, it's brotherly. That's all we ask for when it comes to new cooperation in this world.
But how would you describe the current state of bilateral relations?
The relations are going very well. I can say that for the past 2 years now, the relations have started off very well. We are in the process of deepening the areas of defense and security, but also education. Later on, the commercial aspects and other things. We have staggered the different areas so that we can exchange a lot, share many experiences, because we have a lot to learn from Russia in terms of education, especially in the sciences.
You can see clearly, number one, he says we lack this friendship and partnership because it's a partnership based on respect, mutual respect. It's not condescending where the colonizer thinks he knows better than you in every area. Even though Russia knows quite a lot, they don't look at people like the piece of nonsense, okay? So there's respect. And number two is acknowledging we need to learn from the Russians. We need to acquire the knowledge they have. We need what they have. That's humility for you. Let's go.
Especially in the sciences, but in which fields in particular?
There are many fields in the sciences, whether it's mathematics, whether physics or chemistry. These are areas that interest us greatly, both for the development of our military industry and for the commercial and economic development of our country. So these are areas that we will seek to deepen in order to better structure ourselves.
And do you think there is a demand in Burkina for Russian education?
Of course, there are already many Burkinabe students here in Russia, in universities. I even met some this very morning, and I have requested that the number of students here be increased, whether through Russian scholarships or through Burkina itself, funding scholarships so that these students can come. But our goal is to establish similar universities in Burkina, and since there is already the Russian house, that will allow us to move very quickly.
Wow. So the goal is to send more Burkinabe people to Russia to go and learn and acquire technology. Remember, Russian president says we want more. We have Burkinabe student here, that we want more. And the Russian state is ready to sponsor them to go and study. So it's very clear. We want knowledge. We are ready to finance. We are ready to put the necessary tools for our people to come and learn. And also we want a university from Russia in Burkina Faso. Let's go.
By the way, as you just mentioned, today you visited the Russian university. How did that visit go?
It went very well. I had fruitful discussions with the Russian Minister of Education, with the university presidents and students, especially the AES students who are studying at this university. We had very good exchanges and spoke a lot on scientific topics. That's it.
Let's talk a little bit about the economy. The volume of trade has increased tenfold in 1 year. But on the other hand, these figures do not match the level of political dialogue. How do you explain this paradox? And above all, how can these ties be boosted in the area of trade?
As I said, this is a new relationship that is beginning. You know that with Russia since... Why new? Excuse me? Yes, it's starting again because since the years after the unfortunate death of Sankara, relations with Russia had faded significantly. And now we are in the process of reviving those relations. The embassy has been established, and trade relations are also at the heart of our exchanges. There are a number of Burkinabe products, for example, that used to pass through certain European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, these products are sold directly through Burkinabe and Russian operators. I'm speaking in particular about, for example, mangoes. Mangoes used to transit through European countries before being sold in Russia. Today, it happens directly. There is cotton, which will follow, and many other products, sesame and many other agricultural products that we will be able to trade directly with Russia. So this is just the beginning. It will continue to grow.
Absolutely. In fact, economic forecasts indicate a growth of 100.6% in 2025. So what are the key sectors supporting this growth?
Well, it should be said that up until today in Burkina Faso, gold is the leading export product. But we have set agriculture in motion. First for self-sufficiency, but also for foreign trade and export. If you have been following closely since last year, we launched the agricultural offensive with an initiative that supports this offensive. The goal is to significantly increase our agricultural production, achieve self-sufficiency, but also to have cash crops that we can, sell abroad. All of this should be able to support this growth, and we hope to be, well, above those figures.
How are these reforms being implemented?
There are a lot of things. These are difficult reforms. It must be acknowledged because the system has become entrenched. But
the goal is to enrich the country, to get the country moving forward, to produce things ourselves. This president has not gone there for, a tourism trip. He has gone for learning. He has gone to acquire the knowledge. He has gone for real deals and contracts for the benefit of the people. This is why they don't want him.
It is not impossible. Already, when you look at our cereal production, we have seen very good growth in 2024. In 2025, we hope to do even better. These are quite courageous reforms. For example, if we take agriculture, we have decided through the offensive initiative to plow our farmers' fields for free. Last year we did it. This year again, God willing, when we return, there are a good number of tractors that we have acquired, which we will make available to the mechanized units in the different departments to increase the cultivated areas. We are putting a lot of emphasis on water management through a structure we created, the ONBA, to control water and be able to produce at least 2 or 3 times a year. Because if we rely solely on rainfall, it would be difficult. There is this sector and also the mining sector, which we will continue to boost so that the country itself can exploit its own resources. We have started to acquire mines. There are many permits that are in place, which we are currently developing. Our engineers have been able to develop the necessary machines so that we can exploit our resources ourselves. If we take advantage of these 2 sectors and complement them with industrialization, that is processing our products locally to prevent us from exporting raw materials, it will really help us achieve very strong growth. These are the reforms currently underway. Agriculture, industry, and many other sectors.
Do you think Russia could provide support for the implementation of these reforms?
Of course. A lot of support. Just technical and vocational training alone is already a very good thing. If we set up industries, we definitely need people to maintain and operate them. And Russia is helping us in this area. That's why I say we have very good cooperation with the Ministry of Education. They will allow us to train technicians and engineers who must be able to maintain everything we do, but also to create our own industrial units. So this is very important for us. And in trade as well, as I just mentioned, things are going very well with Russia. There is no reason why we can't deepen all of this.
Let's talk a little bit.
There's only one thing that I can read here. Independence, independence, independence. We want to be independent. We don't want a partnership where you can do things for us. We want a partnership where we can learn from you so we can start producing our own things.
About security. What is the current security situation in your country and, for that matter, in the region?
In the region, as you know, the security situation, at least we are trying to make progress on the battlefields. That's the first thing, because there are several factors that come into play. On the battlefields, there has been progress. If we look from 2023 to today, we have been able to reclaim many areas that we have managed to pacify. However, the enemy is also getting stronger. There are many foreign fighters joining the ranks of the terrorists.
Wow.
Could you clarify? Are you referring to?
Yes, the terrorists are being reinforced by many foreign fighters who come from elsewhere, who are not actually... When I look at the case of Burkina, there are many criminals who are in Burkina, but who are not Burkinabe. There are also trainers who come from many countries to teach them.
Wow. So in Burkina Faso, there are terrorists. In Mali and Niger. And few months ago, maybe a year ago, French people were still fighting these terrorists. Unquote. When the three countries asked them to leave, the terrorists became stronger. They get more stuff than ever had before. They have drones now. They have intelligence services. And you don't understand how did they become stronger? How is that possible? Mali accused France of saying France is actually training the terrorists. And like he said, the terrorists that we see are not all Burkina Faso. They're not from our country. Many foreign people are fighting next to the terrorists against the government. And some other people, some trainers from some countries we're not going to name, are going to train them so they can win this war. Unbelievable.
A lot of techniques.
But what is their interest?
It's not really
Who
terrorism.
do you think it is?
It's imperialism. Their goal is to keep us in a state of permanent war so that we can't develop and so they can continue to plunder our resources. They have every interest in bringing in specialists in mines to lay different types of mines and explosives experts. Today, the terrorists are using drones to fight and everything. It's professionals from certain countries who come to teach them all of this. All of this is to keep us in a state of insecurity. But we are aware of what's going on. We adapt every time to their methods of operation, and we will continue the fight until we reclaim the whole Sahel.
Are there specific countries that are funding these fighters?
All the imperialist countries are funding these fighters. There are many of them. We can't name them individually. Some are even hidden, ones you wouldn't imagine. But there are many.
There are also those who aren't hiding and openly declare it. I'm talking about the recent scandal involving support for terrorism in Mali. What is your perspective on what actually happened in Mali?
Yes, it's unfortunate. They openly declared that they support the terrorists. We also clearly noticed, with a number of technologies that the terrorists were able to obtain, that they came from them. It's very unfortunate, but in any case, we're not feeling sorry for ourselves. We have taken stock of the situation. We will adapt. We will fight them.
We're not
and they will not be able to win.
We're going to fight.
That's what's most important to us.
How is humanitarian cooperation between Burkina Faso and Russia progressing?
It's going very well. I think there is a lot of exchange in many areas. For example, in the field of health, because we still have displaced people here. And when we talk about a camp for displaced people, it means there are often complicated health situations. I think the health services are cooperating well to support humanitarian action services so that we can move forward. As you saw in 2023, I believe Russia donated wheat to Burkina Faso. It was intended solely for displaced people, but we made a promise to President Putin that we no longer want to be supplied with wheat because we are going to produce our own wheat. And I am keeping that promise because we have started producing our own wheat in sufficient quantities to meet our needs. So what this means is...
We received cereal and other good things from Russia, okay? And we're thankful for that. But I made a promise to President Putin that it's not going to happen anymore. We will acquire the knowledge and we will produce our own cereals. We will produce our own goods so that we don't perpetuate begging. Unbelievable.
Cooperation in this area is leading us to develop ourselves, to boost many things in order to fill the gaps.
In light of current geopolitical tensions, especially the trade war between the United States and China, how is Burkina Faso adapting its economic and diplomatic strategy?
Well, this world is in constant flux. Sometimes the things we see are just madness. You have to stay alert and be able to adapt at any moment. And that's very important because we keep up with current events. There's an economic battle going on almost everywhere, but for us, we trade with China without any issues. We buy a lot of things from China, and the Chinese also buy a lot from us. There are Chinese companies setting up in our country, despite the fact that some people try to disparage Burkina Faso. It's the same with Russia right now. So all the countries that are fighting today for their economic independence, we are trying to collaborate better with them because it's a form of oppression from imperialism. It is necessary for those who are oppressed to unite in order to confront this hegemony. So basically, we are adapting to this whole situation.
Mr. President, what is your view on the recent deterioration of relations with Algeria?
That's a good one.
Well, you have followed the events, and I think everyone understands how it works. We regret the incident that occurred at the Algerian border with the drone. They shot down. It must be said clearly, this is not friendly. It's not friendly because you don't just shoot down an aircraft like that. When everyone knows the protocol, there's no point in pretending otherwise. If an aircraft crosses your border, even if it enters your country, you identify it. Radars make it possible to identify it, and you know which country it belongs to, and that's what diplomatic relations are for. You contact the embassy, there are defense attachés, there are many mechanisms. You contact them, and they can confirm whether it's their aircraft or not, and whether it's on the territory. That's it. Maybe it needs help or it has lost.
Okay, now for context, he's talking about a drone that was shot down by Algeria. I don't know whether you remember this, but we spoke about this. Algeria shot a drone coming from Mali by the border. The Malian government was tracking terrorists. And this very expensive drone got to a point where it saw where the terrorists were. The Algerian government, from their side, shot down the Malian drone. And it was bad. It was really bad between the two. They recalled their ambassadors. They closed the border. It was crazy. Now, the thing is, Mali accuses Algeria of hovering terrorists and giving them homes in Algeria. What Traore is saying here is Algeria knows the protocol. When you see another country's drone, you can see through the radar where that drone comes from, who's the owner of the country. You can't just shoot anything going up your space like that. There's procedures, there's protocol. You contact that. So what you've done here, it's not friendly. It shows that you are hostile toward Mali. And obviously, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are brothers right now. Let's go.
Its bearings, and so on. Because an aircraft can be in the air, it might have problems with the weather, and it has to hide behind the clouds. That happens very often in our countries. So an aircraft enters, we ask, and they say no. There is a lot of cloud cover, but in any case, there is some meteorological phenomenon that causes it to come through. It could have a technical problem. It might request help so that we can guide it to land. So there are so many factors that can cause an aircraft to end up in an airspace. We don't just shoot down an aircraft automatically. This has happened to us before. We have often seen an American aircraft enter our territory, conducting reconnaissance and so on. We did not shoot down the aircraft. We made sure to contact the American embassy, and after a few minutes, they confirmed that it was their aircraft, and they cleared the airspace. So we don't just shoot down an aircraft automatically. So shooting down the aircraft is a deliberate, unfriendly act, and it's regrettable.
But if I understand correctly, you're not closing the door to dialogue, are you?
No. Leaders need to understand that we have no choice but to unite in the face of this so-called terrorism situation, because it's quite a complex phenomenon. I'm telling you, back in 2012, Burkina was just sitting and watching what was happening in Mali. What were we doing? The regime in power at the time was friendly with those people. Some of them even lived in Ouagadougou. YAG lived in Ouagadougou. That's the reality. But what's happening today? They've turned against us. These are not free people. They are manipulated by the imperialists, and the orders they receive, then they pass on to their criminals on the ground, and those orders are carried out. So everyone needs to understand that we must unite to confront this. There is no possible negotiation with these people.
Precisely, let's talk about this unity, or rather this integration that is currently taking place within the AES. Where do things stand right now?
It's going well, it's progressing. So we are in the Confederation. And as I said, there are many things to put in place. That's it, man. We shouldn't try to go too fast and end up not doing things properly. So we are moving forward gradually. There are a lot of structures that need to be established. There are many aspects that need to be upgraded in the three countries because, as you know, from an economic standpoint, we are not at the same level. From a military perspective, there are also many aspects. We need to try to balance things out. And so this requires setting up many structures and holding many meetings. And free movement requires a certain number of parameters to be put together.
Yeah, so you can see the map here. This is Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. They've come together. They are a confederation. They're like one country now, like the United States of America, but version Africa. But America's 50 states, they're only 3 states right now, for now. But they're doing great. Amazing. They're working together. They got one passport. The phone calls is local. It's not international anymore. No more roaming. No more spending money for stupid things. They love each other. They got each other's back. One of them was almost attacked by all these other rubbish African nations. Not nations, but leaders. You understand? Niger was almost attacked. But the 2 other countries say, if you dare attack them, we on. You want the smoke? Well, I got some smoke for you. Let's go.
Actually, I had a question about the economic aspect. Is the creation of a currency specific to the AES, Damatra, still on the agenda?
Yes, it's definitely on the agenda. And so the process is ongoing. There are a lot of things, how should I put it? A lot of details to work out before we get there. But it's definitely on the agenda. If we're talking about sovereignty, of course we need that kind of sovereignty. So yes, it's imperative.
Can we expect the AES to expand in the near future?
Yes, in the future. But for now, as I said, we need to harmonize a lot of things among ourselves, really lay the foundations, because there will be many additional protocols.
Okay, let me stop right there. Are you expecting more people into your group, the IAS? He says yes with a stop. Yes, but in the future. This man is very smart. He's very wise. Yes, thinking. I'm sure they probably have never really asked him this question before. You know, yes, because you need to think about it.
Harmonize our policies, whether diplomatic or economic policies. There are many policies to harmonize before we can allow someone else to join.
But are there already countries that are interested in your format?
Yes, there are countries that are interested. They might be able to, I don't know. For now, the president of the federation is the Malian president. He could give an opinion on the matter, but there are countries that are interested.
How do you explain the decline of French influence in the region? Not only in the Sahel, but also in West Africa, for example.
I think they themselves have contributed to the decline of their influence because they have a paternalistic view of our relations. You see, whenever we take any advice, any initiative, it's always attributed to Russia. If someone speaks, they say it's because they're influenced by Russia. Everything that happens, it's always Russia. Why do they have their eyes closed like that? So Africans aren't capable of developing anything. Africans aren't capable of inventing, innovating, or taking initiatives. That's what we're fighting against. And as long as they keep seeing Africans this way, as subhuman, incapable of thinking, incapable of innovating or inventing, we can never be friends. Times have changed. So it's really about the way they see black people. They need to stop that.
So he's angry that the West makes it look like Africans cannot think for themselves. It's like every good decision made by Africans must be sponsored or initiated by the Russians. So what they're doing here is they're alternating. One country president will lead for 1 year, then the next year Burkina Faso president will lead, then the next year Niger's president will lead. And he says For now, I don't have anything to say. Whoever's leading is the president of Mali. He will see whatever it's conducive for us.
Because by treating us this way, it's as if they see black people as subhuman. And that's dangerous. They need to change their language.
But how does this attitude show itself?
Look at their speeches. Look at their speeches. Even the French president, always in his speeches, no? Says that young Africans are influenced by Russia. It's said Western media, if you listen to them often, they do nothing but lie all the time. And look today at the AES, which is a model that's starting to take shape. Well, they can't go a single day without talking about Burkina or the AES. It's impossible for them. And every time they try to spread information, to divide, to manipulate the youth, but it doesn't work anymore. I think people are quite aware now. People have their eyes open. And all of you, you are victims of these people, of their communication. What they do, what they say about Russia and everything, we try. Even today, there are young Africans who still have their eyes closed, who still believe their lies, the story of the Second World War. I was listening the other day. Someone was saying that at the end of the war, in the 10 years that followed, if you asked people in Europe who won the war, they would say it was Russia. But today, if you ask in Europe who won the war, they will say it was the Westerners. Through communication, they managed to rewrite history. And with African history as well, they schemed everything to spread lies. And as a result, some young Africans who don't even know the history of Africa, what Africa has accomplished. Some don't even know that our grandparents fought, who were put on the front lines as cannon fodder. And when they returned, they were killed like animals. Do people know that when France was testing its first atomic bomb, it was black soldiers they placed nearby within the blast radius to see what effect it would have? Especially the archives. Everything they used against Africa is terrible. All of this needs to be communicated so that young Africans understand, because there are still many who are asleep and continue to speak on behalf of the imperialists. They say what they're told to say, maybe because they're given something in return. I don't know. But Africans need to understand their history and wake up. So this is our fight as well.
In your opinion, what is the role of the media in this struggle? Independent media.
In Burkina Faso, if you look right now, many media outlets are supporting this movement, primero helping to raise awareness among young people through debates and so on. So that's really what we hope for from the media.
Do you think our media can also play its part in this fight?
Of course, very much so. You have to play a very important role because, I said it in 2023 in St. Petersburg, and I'll say it again today, Russia helped save the world. Africa helped save the world. It needs to be said. Young people need to understand that everything you see in Hollywood movies or whatever, it's not true. It's all lies. It's the same thing.
That the things that are happening in Hollywood, it's a lie. Let's not Hollywood lie to you, Russia won the war. Africa won the war. Let's not Hollywood lie to you with all these movies of Commando and Rambo and Chuck Norris, one person unaliving 100,000 people. When he's angry, then when he gets angry, then he unalives everyone. Crazy stuff.
The Vietnam War. Today you see history is distorted, but we have to communicate. You see,
like the war in Vietnam. We all watch the movies. In the movies, it's always the Americans winning. But the truth is different. And I used to think Vietnamese were the bad people. Like, why were they so bad? Then, with time, I realized that they didn't bother anybody. They went to Vietnam in their land. Crazy stuff. That's what Hollywood can do for you.
They don't like it when I speak. They think I talk too much and everything, so that I'll be quiet, so that they can speak and their version will prevail. No. My biggest regrets is having spent a good part of my youth listening to radio stations like RFI and France 24. I was in countries, where these radio stations were banned, but we would use apps, record their news broadcasts just to listen. But at some point, something clicked. And I started to realize that they were conditioning our minds to accept whatever they wanted. It's their narrative that they want us to learn. And since then, I started to see things differently and realized that what they're doing is very dangerous. And today, more than ever, I realize that they have conditioned the minds, especially of Africans. So you can do a lot to awaken the consciousness of young people so that people understand how the world works and don't let themselves be led astray by those people.
My very last question, just to end on a positive note. What are the prospects for relations between Russia and Burkina Faso, in your opinion?
There are many prospects ahead. As I said, with the parade I saw, I think there is very good cooperation because that's a good thing. Currently, we are buying equipment, but we need to develop our military industry, for example. And Russia, many can contribute a lot. You know that Russia has many scientists, many scholars who are Russian. The proof is that I just left Mendeleev University. They can support us a lot in training as well, so that we can also excel, because in our country, we have young talents, geniuses, who are able to create things, but they lack the mathematical input, the science to be able to improve what they do. So Russia can help us a lot in this area. This will help us in the military sector, in the industrial sector, because it is machines that keep the world running. And today, with the technology that exists, whether it's IT, networks, or telecommunications, and so on, so in this area, Russia is collaborating a lot. So in the future, all these prospects will be put on the agenda so that we can achieve a definite goal that we desire.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for this very interesting and enriching discussion.